Deep beneath the scorching desert of Mexico lies one of Earth's strangest and most breathtaking hidden wonders. This is the Cave of Crystals. Deep beneath the sun-baked earth of the Nika Desert in Mexico, a secret world has been waiting. For countless ages, it has remained hidden from human eyes, a place of impossible beauty and extreme danger. Here, far from the light of the sun, nature has crafted a masterpiece. It is a chamber that looks like something from a dream or perhaps a distant alien planet. This is not a world for humans. The air itself is a threat, and the silence is broken only by the hum of the Earth's deep heat. The year was 2000. Two brothers, Eloy and Javier Delgado, were miners. Their drill suddenly broke through a wall into an empty space. In their headlamps, darkness gave way to an unbelievable sight. They were the first humans to see it, silent for 500,000 years. The air hit them, hot and overwhelmingly moist. The brothers knew they couldn't stay. Yet the image was burned into their minds, a real-life crystal palace hidden deep beneath the earth. News of the find spread quickly. Scientists and explorers studied the first photos. The sheer size of the crystals is what first takes your breath away. These are the largest natural crystals ever found on planet Earth. Imagine a crystal that is over 11 meters long, the length of a city bus. And imagine that this crystal weighs more than 50 tons, heavier than a fully grown whale. Now picture an entire cave filled with hundreds of these colossal structures. These incredible formations are made of selenite, transparent or translucent, a form of the mineral gypsum. When light hits them, they seem to glow from within, creating a soft, magical light that fills the entire cavern. Scientific studies have shown that some of the largest pillars took an astonishing 500,000 years to grow to their current size. Tiny gypsum crystals began to form, and then they just kept growing, molecule by molecule, over an unimaginable length of time. Think of it like making rock candy at home. The Cave of Crystals is a natural version of this, but instead of sugar it used minerals, and instead of a few hours, the process took 500,000 years. Walking among these giants is a humbling experience. The floor and walls of the cave are also covered in crystals. You have to move with extreme care. The reason this cave is so dangerous has nothing to do with the crystals themselves. The danger comes from the extreme environment. The temperature inside the Cave of Crystals is constant and incredibly high. It hovers around 58 degrees Celsius, hotter than the hottest day in most deserts. But heat is only half the problem. The other factor is humidity. The air is almost completely saturated, 90 to 99% humidity. It feels like stepping into a boiling kettle. Normally our bodies cool down by sweating. Sweat evaporates from skin and takes heat away. But in the Cave of Crystals the air is so full of water sweat cannot evaporate. Your body has no way to cool down. The hot, wet air heats you faster. Without protection you could survive only about 10 minutes. This can lead to confusion, this can cause loss of consciousness, and eventually it can be fatal. Inhaling hot, saturated air causes moisture to condense in the lungs, like slowly drowning. It's an environment fundamentally hostile to human life. Our biology can't cope with geology here. That incredible heat and humidity are why the crystals grew so large. Conditions deadly to us were perfect for them. The cave was a natural laboratory, an incubator maintained for hundreds of thousands of years. The story of how these giant crystals formed is a tale of water, heat, and immense patience. For hundreds of thousands of years, the cave was completely filled with hot, mineral-rich water. This water was heated by the magma chamber far below. As the hot water moved through the rock, it dissolved minerals, becoming a kind of rich chemical soup. One of the main minerals in this soup was anhydrite. The water in the cave was perfectly saturated with these minerals, holding as much as it possibly could. At this exact temperature, the anhydrite mineral in the water began to slowly change. It started to transform into gypsum, the mineral that forms the selenite crystals. Because the temperature was so stable and the water was so calm, this process happened incredibly slowly. Tiny gypsum crystals began to form, and then they just kept growing, molecule by molecule. The cave was a perfect, giant womb for growing crystals. It was the mining activity that changed everything. To access the valuable metals in the lower parts of the mine, the mining company had to pump the water out of the ground. When the miners finally broke through the wall in 2000, the cave was empty of water for the first time in its history. The crystal growing process had stopped. Pumps were used to drain water from the cave, but everyone understood they had uncovered something precious. a fragile, dangerous natural treasure that demanded respect and careful study. Researchers handled crystal samples carefully. The mining company moved to manage the site. For over a decade, scientists raced to study the cave while they had the chance. Once the cave was discovered, scientists knew they had a unique but very limited opportunity to study it. Scientists had to wear specially designed cooling suits. Ice-cold water is constantly pumped through those tubes. They wore a rebreather, a device supplying cool, dry air. A full setup could weigh over 20 kilograms. They could only spend 30 to 45 minutes inside before returning to a cooled rest area. Every expedition was a race against time and temperature. Collect samples, set it up, and get out. They looked at tiny pockets of fluid that had been trapped inside the crystals as they grew. These are called fluid inclusions, and they are like tiny time capsules. Inside these minuscule droplets of water, scientists found something incredible: living microbes. The scientists were able to carefully extract these microbes from the fluid inclusions in a sterile laboratory. To their amazement, when they placed the microbes in a nutrient-rich environment, they came back to life. They began to move and reproduce, as if no time had passed at all. These organisms had survived for tens of thousands of years in a state of suspended animation, with no food and no energy source, locked away in total darkness. If life can survive for 50,000 years trapped inside a crystal in a hot, dark cave on Earth, perhaps it could also survive in similar environments on other planets or moons. The microbes of Nika suggest that if life ever started in such places, it might still be there, waiting to be discovered in a dormant state. The window of time for exploring the Cave of Crystals was always meant to be temporary. In 2017, the mining operations ceased to be profitable and the company decided to halt its work. The pumps that held back the water were finally turned off. Slowly but surely, the water began to rise again. The groundwater started to reclaim its territory and seep back into the deep tunnels and caverns of the Nika mine. The rising water slowly submerged the crystal-covered floor, creeping up the sides of the giant selenite beams. The entrance to the cave is now deep underwater once more, hidden from human access. The incredible world that the Delgado brothers discovered is now sealed off. Although we can no longer visit this natural wonder, we can be comforted by the knowledge that it is safe. Now that the cave is flooded again with its mineral-rich water, it is perfectly preserved. The crystals are protected from harm, back in the stable environment where they were born. The sleeping giant has returned to its silent watery slumber. Its brief appearance gave us a glimpse of the Earth's hidden power and beauty, a memory that will inspire wonder for generations to come. The Cave of Crystals at Nika remains one of the greatest natural wonders ever discovered, a place of extremes, extremely beautiful, extremely dangerous, extremely fragile. The Cave of Crystals is a monument to the power of time and the patient artistry of nature. The discovery of life within the crystals has forever changed our perspective. Don't forget to subscribe to WTF Earth for more of the planet's strangest secrets.